Okay, I had to wait a few minutes to make sure that we were doing what I was thinking we were doing. Welcome to this episode of Tea and Talk Time. It's been a while. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a good time. This is the new time I'm doing this from Twitch TV. I have a site called Nana's Place. Everyone calls me Nana, so I might as well have a place. And my place, as you know, has, this is my /computer room, guest room, /craft room, there's a lot of slashes involved. But that's where we're recording from. If I remember to set it up correctly, or if I haven't messed with how my grandson, Buckeye Breeze, did it, everything should go fine, and we'll record and we'll have it up on YouTube later. I'm not real good at keeping an eye out on chat, so if someone stops by and I don't acknowledge you or recognize you, apologize in advance. This new tech stuff is overwhelming for me. I'm old, and it gets to be a bit much. I apologize for how bright and kind of washed out everything is. This room doesn't normally get a lot of light, so I don't know why it is so bright right now. And I don't know how to adjust the camera and other settings, and I'll have to check with Buckeye next time he comes over. He was here last night, but we were doing other things, and I didn't even think of it. So, one of the things that's been on my mind lately is the value of counseling, generally speaking. I've been seeing a counselor for, going on at least 10 years. And I've seen 3 different counselors through those years. And the reason I keep going is I have a chronic disorder, which is why my Twitter name is Quite Tired. Because that's what I am all the time. I'm quite tired. I'm also quite tired of things going on in society and stuff like that. So it has a double meaning, but primarily it's physically I am quite tired, and mentally I am, and it's in its effect of I have fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and other things as well. But that really wreaks havoc on energy levels. And when you deal with a chronic illness, no matter what it is, it can be overwhelming because it's constant. It's all the time. And you need to be reminded of, okay, now remember, one of the key examples is when the first counselor, it would be the second counselor I saw, he would tell me, okay, you have to remember and forgive yourself that today's 1 to 100% that you can do won't look the same as what yesterday's 100% was and what tomorrow's 100% is. It's just not going to be the same. But it's still 100%, and that's all you can do. That's all anybody can ever do of anything, is what your 100% is given at that moment and time and place. And if it's you wish you could have done better, well, that's fine, but don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up over it. You can only do what you can do. So whenever, I'm having a day where, I'm lucky just to get out of bed and come in here and sit down and watch TV, that's my 100% for that day. If I'm only able to take a shower and maybe do a load of dishes, that's my 100% for the day. I've only got X amount of energy, and the amount that I have differs depending on the day and what kind of night I had and what the weather's doing and what's on my mind. I mean, there's all these variables in there. So therefore, my 100% shifts and changes drastically sometimes. And it can be within an hour. 10 minutes ago I could do this, but somebody pulled the plug and there goes the energy right down the drain. So that's one of the things that seeing a counselor has helped me adjust to. But because I tend to get overwhelmed, because things change all the time, because there's different stressors going on in your life. I need to go on a regular basis, depending on what's going on in my life. It can be every 3 weeks or it can be every 3 months. Because I need those reminders, I need those helpful hints, I need that encouragement, I need that support. And you really can't get that from a family member or even a best friend. Talking to your best friend is great, don't get me wrong, because at least you're expressing yourself, at least you're sharing, and you're getting some support. But if you can find a counselor that gets you, so to speak, they are objective and they're trained to give you certain tools and insights to help you deal with whatever your situation is. By saying get you, not everybody's a good fit, you know, and you want someone who understands where you're coming from. For me, I need a counselor who understands the strong spiritual side that I have. I am very connected to spirit, to God, to animals, to nature. And I get a lot of benefit and support in that area. So, my counselors have always known that and adjusted for it. But you might have a counselor who doesn't quite understand where you're coming from. Understanding and supporting is different than identifying. In that, if you have someone who tends to be very rigid and strict and whatever, you might not feel comfortable in that frame. I know some people have seen counselors and it just doesn't work for them. And I honestly believe it's because that particular counselor didn't understand, or you expect that counselor to agree with you, to tell you, oh yeah, you're right. They're not going to do that. They shouldn't do that. They should have the tools needed to convey to you that, well, have you tried it this way? You know, to give you different things, but don't expect anyone to take your side. Support what you're going through, but don't expect somebody to take your side in an argument or whatever, because you're not getting therapy then. You're just getting someone, yes, you don't want a yes man. You don't want someone to tell you what you want to hear. You want someone to tell you the truth and to guide you to the path of healing and support. So that's just a little caution there, because I've heard some people who are, I don't think you totally understand the purpose of counseling. So anyway, that's why I see a counselor, is because I have a chronic condition and I need to touch base with them, especially, I was watching for a bird, especially when I'm having high stress, when the weather, like in the spring and fall especially, are the worst, because the weather's going up and down and I react. I'm very sensitive to the weather going up and down, and it drains me, it exhausts me, and I wake up exhausted to begin with, so it doesn't help any. So I strongly advocate for counselors and mental health. It's more important than we think. My feeling is, you know, life is stressful. You know, you're not mentally insane. You're not deficient. You're not defunct. It's just another tool to help you have a better life. Oh gosh, when was it? It was way back in 73, maybe. I was going through a separation and possible divorce at the time. And my mom wanted me to go see someone. And, I resisted it because to me that means, well, she thought I was crazy, that, there was something wrong with me. And we got to get rid of that stigma because it's not accurate. It's not true. You want to go see someone who can one-on-one with you without any outside interference, without any predeterminations or perceptions put upon you, to be able to express yourself, to get feedback, to get seeds that can develop and grow and make things better. I heard just a snippet of Dr. Drew on one of the Fox shows yesterday, I think it was. And he was saying a lot of the homeless people are offered solutions, are offered places to stay, are offered counseling and stuff. They can't comprehend that. They can't wrap their brain around that because they know this. And you're offering something that's totally strange and different. No, thank you. I'm here. I can't see myself past that. I have been there as well. When you are in depression, you don't recognize it as such. It's only when you've been managed to step out of it that you can look at it and go, oh yeah. When you're in it, that's not your world. That's not your word. I use the word overwhelmedness. Whether it's a word or not, I don't know. But that describes how I get. And so I'm not technically depressed, but it's in that umbrella. It's under that umbrella. And there is a term for it, and every time they say it, I go, I'll remember it. In one brain and out the other. I mean, in one ear and out the other. That's just the way it is. You're in this place and you don't see the value of anything else because this is what your world is. So a lot of the people who are homeless don't need to be, but they can't comprehend what you're offering them. No, I'm, in the water up to here, and this is what I know. If I go there, it might come up to here. There's too much unknown for them. So that reinforced the value of mental health. It's health. It's just like you have physical health, and you do things to make your physical health better. We all need to do things to make our mental health better. Whether it's a perception of your outlook on things, whether it's surrounding yourself with positive people so that you're not feeding the negative. What's the old Native American tale about everyone has two wolves? You have a good wolf and you have a bad wolf. And I think that the story goes with an elder telling a child that, and the child says, well, which one is the dominant? And they said, the one you feed. If you're feeding on negativity, guess what? You're feeding the bad wolf. You have a good wolf and a bad wolf. And if you're doing things that the bad wolf likes, that's where you're going to be led. What's the other saying? There's something about, you are what you eat, feed, watch, whatever. And that goes along the same lines. I play a lot of games on my tablet. And if I've been playing way too many games, when I go to sleep at night, guess what I see? I see the images of the games going on in my head. Because that's what I've been feeding. Guess what I dream about? Whatever I've been feeding my mind with. If you're watching a lot of, I don't know, one particular genre of movies or TV or video games or whatever, that feeds that type of emotion in you. And you may not even realize it. If you're getting short-tempered and stuff, take a step back and see what you've been watching or playing or who you've been hanging around with, because that can have a lot to do with it. So all of that is involved in mental health. I think back in the simpler days, it was one of the things that was a benefit to going to church once or twice a week, because you are around people of like mind, because you supposedly are being fed positive images. I don't mean the hellfire and damnation of certain churches. To me, they leave too much of God's love out of it. And God's love is the big thing. God's beauty in creation, to me, is the big thing. I'll watch an animal or a bird or something, and I just marvel at the intricacy of what was created. Even our own body. When you really take a second look at, well, this does this, and then that affects this, and then that, just the complexity of the human body is outstanding. Okay, I'm rambling. Anyway, the mental health. You don't have to be crazy. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be whatever to get benefit from it. Like I said, it's a different perspective you can find. Just about every session there'll be a nugget of truth that sticks with me, at least for a while. Recently I have started writing stuff down because we've gone just a little bit further in the sessions than just dealing with what I happen to be reacting to at the time. With people who have some chronic situations, there's core issues that need to be addressed. Well, you have to get through all the layers up here in order to start addressing the core. And we've started getting closer to the core. For me, it relates back a lot of fibromyalgia, they say. It can't be diagnosed because it's not a physical thing. It doesn't show up in your blood work. It doesn't show up on an x-ray. It's a process of elimination. Well, you don't have this, and you don't have that, and you don't have this. It's a compilation of different symptoms, and because everything else has been ruled out, guess what? My sister has it, and she's the one that told me to check with my doctor to see if I have it. For her, it was the physical pain, and now she's being affected more and more by the fatigue and the mental drain. Whereas for me, it's always been the fatigue and the mental fatigue. They call it fibro fog. There are times I can't function, and I know it. I can't string two words together. I can't come up with an expression and then something that I should know, and it's not senility yet, but it feels like it sometimes, and it makes me worry because my mom and at least two of my aunts had Alzheimer's, and I worry, and my sister worries that it's going to hit our generation. But so far, I don't think anybody else in the family has developed it. So medically, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. How did I get off on that? I need a co-pilot to tell me. Buckeye, where are you? So anyway, it's a tricky diagnosis, and for me, it's always been the fatigue part. I can't remember where I was going with this, but we're getting to the core issues now, and I have always believed, or once I became more aware of stuff, dysfunction breeds dysfunction. My mom was raised in a dysfunctional family. My dad was raised in a dysfunctional family. You put two dysfunctions together, and it's still dysfunction. So therefore, it is showing those kids dysfunction. There's dysfunction with my side of the family. There's dysfunction with my kid's father's side of the family. So therefore, by example and by exposure, my kids were exposed to dysfunction. Now, granted, there are varying degrees of dysfunction. You have alcoholics, which my dad was, drug users, whatever. You have the extremes that really make it bad. I think, it's more exaggerated than just someone did it wrong. I'm not talking about people who, didn't, oh, well, I'm not supposed to do that. Oh, okay. It's a different thing altogether. So, now I remember. With fibromyalgia, a lot of times they say it's strong trauma and physical, either abuse or accidents or whatever, sexual abuse, things like that happened as a child. It leaves a mark on you for a long, long time. So we're starting to address those issues. There was alcohol. Me growing up, my mom was very short-tempered. And I don't know if she was manic depressive or what, but you never knew what to say and when to say it. I didn't understand this when I was younger. I remember either my mom or my sister saying that mom would say that I was the ugliest child she ever saw. And of course, you take that personal. What I didn't know at the time was I was born with a hematoma on my forehead. And a hematoma is this big old knot and a big old red spot in the middle. And it took forever for that to heal and go away. I mean, the doctor said, it's fine, it'll go away. Well, it's kind of hard for someone who had trauma of her own. Speaking of my mom, I don't think she was nurtured as a child. I don't think she was ever hugged and comforted and told it's going to be okay. So how could she do that to me? How could she look past the visual ugliness of this big old thing on a child? Plus, she was on again, off again with my dad, who was an alcoholic, and he was an abusive alcoholic. And she kept trying to get away from him, and then she'd end up pregnant. So I wasn't her favorite child to begin with. So there's a lot of issues that have developed because of that, and we're just now getting into it. So what I'm leading into is in one of the last sessions, we were talking, and I described, a lot of times they'll say, well, what do you want to talk about? And sometimes, that's when you talk about, the trauma that happens to be going on currently. But because I've started to, write down different thoughts and stuff, both during the session and anything that might pop up afterwards, I was talking about, I wanted to talk about feeling detached. As a child, I never felt like I was part of a unit. Mom wasn't a nurturing type. But I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. That, like I said, I wasn't a part of anything. I was always observing. I was always, and she used the word that really pinpointed it, detached. My whole life I've been detached. And looking back, there's not a lot I remember. I only remember traumatic stuff, or some traumatic stuff. Mom yelled a lot. She was very physical, grabbing. Uh, no matter what I said or did, I was wrong. So you learn, A, you don't trust your instincts. B, you don't trust people because people bring pain. Okay? So we're dealing with a lot of these core issues here. One of the things she wanted me to do, we do different exercises while we're there. And we were doing this one exercise, and she wanted me to confront Mom and basically verbally, tell her that she was wrong and she shouldn't have done this and that hurt and, however. Now that works for some people because they've never done that. Now I did it once a long time ago with someone else who was a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Yeah. And so at one point I got that out, but now as an adult and doing some of the spirit work that I've done, I know that she did the best she could with what she had. And she was an abuse survivor. So I found myself, I couldn't confront her because I couldn't. And it wasn't until like maybe a week after this last session that it clicked within me why I couldn't. And it's because during the session, she was reminding me that, the wounded child in someone, they need to be recognized, validated, appreciated, loved, because the child didn't deserve that. The child was exposed to it, but was never comforted, was never nurtured or whatever. So I was putting that together with the previous time when she wanted me to be vocal. Because she said when you don't vocalize stuff, your body retains it, and disease is dis-ease for a reason. If you're holding that in, it festers. And it causes physical problems. Physical diseases, dis-ease. So it's important to give that child a voice, to express it. And if those who are believe in the Bible and God and things like that, God spoke the world into existence. Your words are powerful. They can either kill, destroy, or heal. Okay, those first two are the same thing. They can either do good or they can do bad. You need to express yourself. But you don't have to do it in anger. And the reason I say that is because as I was thinking of this, there was an image came into my mind. Matter of fact, I will read what I wrote down. And it goes into a meditation that kind of puts a lot of things together for me. And this is what I would choose to do instead of yelling at my mom. Because like I said, my mom did the best she could with what she had. So I want to share it with you, and maybe it will spark something in you that makes sense. So this is what I said. I really can't attack her now, as I can see some of the pain she went through that caused her own dysfunction and rippled out to me. The image of my wounded child reaching out to her wounded child instead seemed to be a better solution. The compassion of one wounded innocent reaching out to another wounded innocent seemed a better base to go from. With compassion, understanding, and sympathy, contact the heart and soul. You are not alone. I understand what you went through, and this is why you're imagining yourself holding that other one's hand. I feel the pain too. I feel the lifelong effects and marks that have lingered. Take my hand, and we will refresh ourselves. Step into the emotional waters with me. Take my hand, and together we will cleanse the residue from our hearts, minds, and souls. As we step in deeper and deeper, allow the water to gently ripple around us, gently lap against our dry skin. Submerge into the warmth and cleansing water. Allow it to wash off the pain, cleanse and release the trauma, the despair, the fear, the aloneness, the insensitivity of our experiences. Just when fear of overwhelmedness, my word, sparks the beginning of panic, feel a new sensation. You are being held firm by a giant loving hand underneath you. Slowly you are being lifted higher and higher. Slowly you feel warmth rising from the soles of your feet through your body. Warmth and peace radiate from the giant loving hands that hold you. The warmth and peace seep into every fiber of your being, every cell, every atom, every part of your spirit and soul. As you rise up out of the water, the ripples slowly evaporate, replaced by a cool, calm, tranquil lake. You are refreshed. You are freed of the trauma. You are never alone anymore. You look to the one whose hand you hold, and you see the face of joy, peace, and love that is reflected off of your own face. It is a new beginning. That came to me in response to, okay, why couldn't I confront, my mom when she wanted me to? I couldn't, because I understood to, not completely, you can't totally understand somebody else, but I'd been there too. I had been raised in dysfunction. Enough to the point, that it caused physical dis-ease. That has only gotten worse as I've gotten older. So that mental image of taking the hand of the wounded person, that seemed to be what I needed to do. Other people need to yell, scream, get it out. I haven't talked to my counselor yet about this form, so I'll let you know what she thinks of it and if it's valid. But I do know that after writing that out, I felt better, more at peace, and it seemed to be a more loving way to confront my mom, because she never received that as a child, I don't think. Her mom had to deal with her dad. PTSD does a lot of shit to your brain. And when you are in a constant environment of stress and neglect and abuse and, whatever the situation is, it does damage. I don't take it lightly anymore, because I'm understanding more and more about everything that I've had to go through. And being able to talk to a counselor, has helped a lot. So anyway, that's what was on my mind. And I wanted to share and see what you all think. And maybe a little bit of what I said or connected with, meant something. What they say is, a lot of times abusers were abused. And, it's that vicious cycle. And something has to break it somewhere. The loop has to get disconnected in order for there to be any kind of healing. I can remember I said, I'll never be like that. I'll never be like my mom. And then one day I found myself standing there and doing this, and, it was my mom. So I had to deliberately, forcibly change what I was doing. Doesn't mean I was perfect. I was far from it. Just ask my kids. But, it's a cycle. And there until something can break that cycle, it's going to continue. So anyway, any kind of pain or whatever that you've done, just take a minute, some quiet time. And mental imagery is helpful to put yourself in a better place where you can address some things. There's a meditation where you find that will guide you to find your sacred place, is one term that they use. And that's where you go mentally. You should do it on a regular basis. I'm really bad about meditating. And Spirit, keeps sending you little messages to do that. So, I may do a few things on my Twitch channel about meditation and spiritual stuff. But you need that safe place to go to. It's a place to heal. It's a place to recharge. People nowadays especially tend to go a mile a minute and they don't stop and take care of themselves. Moms are notorious for, you take care of the house, you take care of the family, you take care of your job, you take care of this, you take care. And where are you on that list? Maybe you put yourself on the list, but usually you don't. And you need to be more conscious of that, because if you're not refreshed and fed, it makes it more difficult for you to feed somebody else. And so I was always working from the negative because of what I had and have, for one thing, but also because there was very little coming back, because I felt, I had to do it all. I had to make up the difference, and there wasn't anything left for me. So, think about it, see what you think or feel, and whether you can give it any validity for yourself. And if not, maybe you'll just be more compassionate when you talk to somebody who's had a rough time, and you can offer words of encouragement or support. So that's it for me. We will. Oh, I had one viewer. That's pretty cool. Don't know who it was, but it's something that's been on my mind, and I wanted to share it and see what you think. And I wanted to finally get back into the habit of doing episodes. Hopefully I can squeeze in one more episode with Buckeye before he goes off to college, which he does in a couple weeks. Oh no, I will miss that booger. So anyway, I wanted to stop by and say hi and see how everybody is, and let you know that, I'm still here. I guess it's been a year since I've done one of these. It's been a rough year. So anyway, that's about all I had to say here. We'll try to do this again relatively soon. So let me say goodbye and check and see whether or not this recorded. So until the next time we get together, please take care and God bless. Bye bye for now. Let's see if I can hit the right button.